भी चल रहे हैं।
सकारात्मक सोच को आओ सारे भारत में फैलाए, सकारात्मक ऊर्जा का आओ सब में संचार कराए। ऐसा ना हो कि हम अपनी जिम्मेदारी भूल न जाए, क्यों इंतजार करें हम किसी का, आओ एक मशाल जलाए। सकारात्मकता के उदय का चलिए हम उद्घोष कराए। RJS जय हिंद के नारों से अपना देश जगाए, RJS वंदे मातरम से सारी सरकार जगाए।
जय हिंद, जय भारत। आप सभी लोगों का RJS PBH के इस मंच पर राष्ट्रीय संयोजक और संस्थापक उदय मन्ना की ओर से हार्दिक अभिनंदन है, स्वागत है। बहुत ही खुशी का मौका इसलिए है क्योंकि नवरात्र का महीना चल रहा है और महागौरी के पूजन का ये दिवस है, और इस अवसर पर अमृतकाल का सकारात्मक भारत, जो भारत सरकार का आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव का एक जन भागीदारी है, और 178वें अंक तक एक ऐतिहासिक श्रृंखला जो है वो शुरू हो गई है, जो 2047 तक चलेगी। तो 178वें अंक में आप सभी का 22 अक्टूबर को स्वागत है। आज द अवेयर कंज्यूमर, जो कि कंज्यूमर मूवमेंट के पुरोधा प्रोफेसर बिजोन कुमार मिश्रा के सानिध्य में आज ये कार्यक्रम किया जा रहा है, जिसके सह आयोजक जो हैं वो प्रफुल्ल भाई सेठ हैं। और जागो ग्राहक जागो के अनुसार हम लोग आज भारत की जनता को जगाने के लिए आए हैं कि भारत सरकार ने जो पॉलिसी बनाई है राइट टू रिपेयर, ये बहुत ही कम लोगों को पता है कि जो वो सामान खरीदते हैं उसके रिपेयर का भी कोई अधिकार है या नहीं है। ये भारत के उपभोक्ताओं के लिए एक बहुत बड़ी चुनौती है, और उस चुनौती का सामना करने के लिए जानकारी जरूरी है, और जानकारी ही बचाव है। आज बहुत सारे पार्टिसिपेंट्स जो जुड़े हैं वो अपने आप में एक स्तंभ हैं, लेकिन उनके जो सवालात हैं वो पूरे भारत के सवालात होंगे, जिसका जवाब प्रोफेसर बिजोन कुमार मिश्रा जी और डॉक्टर MS कामत जी, जो कि इस विषय के विशेषज्ञ हैं, वो जवाब देंगे। लेकिन आज महागौरी के दिवस, नवरात्र की देवी की पूजा आराधना के साथ जो है हम लोग आमंत्रित करेंगे अपने एक ऐसे RJS PBH के ऑब्जर्वर को, जिनके कंधों पर जिम्मेदारी है सकारात्मक भारत उदय आंदोलन की, और वो हैं चेयरमैन ऑफ कंज्यूमर ऑनलाइन फाउंडेशन प्रफुल्ल डी सेठ जी। और साथ में स्वागत हम अपनी RJS फैमिली की ओर से करेंगे रंजना बेन सेठ जी, जो कि ज्वाइंटली एक साथ दिखाई दे रहे हैं, और RJS ऑब्जर्वर भी हैं, RJS एडवाइजर भी हैं, और डॉक्टर MS कामत जी हैं। आप सभी का स्वागत करते हुए सभी प्रतिभागियों का उदय कुमार मन्ना स्वागत करता है, और माइक हैंड ओवर करता है प्रफुल्ल डी सेठ जी को, जो चेयरमैन हैं कंज्यूमर ऑनलाइन फाउंडेशन के। जय हिंद सर।
Greetings from Ram Janaki Sansthan from Vadodara, Gujarat. आज अष्टमी है। Happy Navratri to all RJSians and welcome to today's webinar. Friends, we have come long way. This episode of Amrit Kal Sakaratmak Bharat is its 178th episode. Very recently, we concluded 150, and now we are in 178th webinar. As always, today's webinar is on a very contemporary subject, right to repair, a challenge to consumers of Bharat. I would like to just quote some statistics from our magazine, which I'm sure you are reading, The Aware Consumer. There is a report section in this magazine, and some research has been cited from local circles organization which enables citizens and small businesses to escalate issues for policy and enforcement, etc. The research says that 46% consumers say they purchased a high-value product in the last 2 years, which was inherently defective. Further, it says that consumers, it had a high-value product with inherent defect in the last 2 years. 3 in 10 could not find any assistance from the brand. 1 in 10 just got it repaired from third party locally. This is the background of today's webinar, and I think it's a very, very good subject that is there for you. To know more about the right to repair, we have with us a learned keynote speaker on the subject, Dr. M.S. Kamath, Honorary Secretary of the Consumer Guidance Society. He's a physician and a lawyer. He has represented patients and doctors in medical negligence cases and compared 150 programs on Doordarshan on health and consumer issues. I welcome you, sir, Dr. Kamath. Today, we also have our own two stalwarts, RJSians, Professor Bijon Kumar Mishra, editor and publisher of the Aware Consumer magazine and international consumer policy expert, and chairman of today's session. Welcome, Bijonda. And finally, our own, but less seen, but always brings happiness when he joins, Shri Deep Chand Mathur. Mathur Saab is a former director of the MCD in Delhi. Welcome, Mathur Saab. And of course, Shri Uday Manna ji, convener of RJS Broadcasting, RJS Vani, RJS Blog, and most active pillar of the RJS ideology. Welcome to all once again. Vande Matram.
तो इस तरह से प्रफुल्ल डी सेठ जी ने एक भूमिका दी है, और अब जो है इस कार्यक्रम को लेकर आपके मन में जो भी सवाल होंगे उसके लिए पूरा मौका है। और सबको आप जानते ही हैं कि बिजोंदा का ये प्रायोरिटी रहती है इस कार्यक्रम में कि आप अगर इस कार्यक्रम में जुड़ते हैं तो आपकी भावनाओं का आदर किया जाता है। तो उसके लिए आप निश्चिंत रहिएगा, लेकिन सवाल पूछिएगा, क्वेश्चन के रूप में पूछिएगा। और इतने बड़े विद्वान का समय जो है उसका सदुपयोग करने के लिए हम सभी आरजेसियंस जो हैं तैयार हैं, और हम माइक हैंड ओवर करते हैं अपने आरजेस एडवाइजर और कंज्यूमर पॉलिसी के इंटरनेशनल एक्सपर्ट प्रोफेसर बिजॉन कुमार मिश्रा जी को। स्वागत है सर।
थैंक यू। आपका इंट्रोडक्शन ऑलवेज एक धुआंधार होता है, उदय मन्ना जी, वंदे मातरम, नमस्कार सबको। और एक हम लोग के आदत जैसा बन गया है कि संडे 11 बजे सब काम धाम छोड़कर हम लोग एकत्रित हो जाते हैं। ये हम लोग का कौन सा एपिसोड हो रहा है मन्ना जी आज के दिन में? बिकॉज हम काउंट नहीं रख पा रहे हैं।
सर काउंटलेस हो रहा है, ये बिगिनिंग है। 100 मतलब एक तरह 150 कार्यक्रम करने के बाद
आज कितना?
आज 178 कार्यक्रम, 178वां कार्यक्रम। और इसके साथ साथ जानकारी देना चाहेंगे कि इसके साथ साथ पॉजिटिव मीडिया डायलॉग भी शुरू हो गया है। आज महाकवि कालिदास को लेकर रिलीज होने वाला है, वो भी पॉजिटिव मीडिया डायलॉग। बायोडायवर्सिटी पार्क भी 28 तारीख को हम लोग जा रहे हैं। तो भारत सकारात्मक बनेगा, ये जिद जो है आरजेएस की, वो आप लोगों के सामने, आप लोग 2047 को इसको संपन्न करेंगे।
थैंक यू। जब तक जिद नहीं करेंगे तब तक पाएंगे नहीं, ये समझ लीजिए बात को। प्रफुल्ल भाई, रंजन बहन, हमारे सारे आरजेएस परिवार के जितने सदस्य हैं, हम यदि नाम लेने जाएंगे तो समय बहुत बीत जाएगा, लेकिन कुछ लोगों को तो हम बगैर नाम ना लेकर हम शुरुआत कर ही नहीं सकते हैं। जैसे हमारे इशाक भाई हुआ, हम उनका नाम लेना अनिवार्य है। सुदीप जी, उनका नाम लेना अनिवार्य है, क्योंकि हम ऐसा, मतलब हमारे सोच है कि कोई भी संडे वो लोग मिस नहीं करते हैं, क्योंकि हम कभी भी जब आए हैं, जब भी हम पार्टिसिपेट किए हैं, हम इन लोगों को जरूर देखे हैं। और बहुत ढेर सारे लोग होंगे जो हर संडे को 11 बजे विदाउट फेल आ जाते हैं। विदाउट एनी मोर फर्दर वेस्टिंग टाइम, आज बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट एक अहम काइंड ऑफ टॉपिक है और हम बहुत ही आभारी हैं हमारे दोस्त, हमारे बड़े निकट के दोस्त डॉक्टर MS कामत। आप लोगों को सबको मालूम नहीं होगा, कंज्यूमर गाइडेंस सोसाइटी ऑफ इंडिया is one of the oldest consumer organization in the country. The first consumer organization which was officially recognized in India was the Consumer Guidance Society of India. ये आप लोगों को हम जानकारी देना चाहते हैं और उसका एक अहम जो स्तंभ है वो है डॉक्टर MS कामत। डॉक्टर कामत बॉम्बे में बेस्ड हैं। आप लोग जैसे सुने हैं, अभी प्रफुल्ल भाई ने उनको इंट्रोडक्शन दिया है कि he is a physician come a lawyer, which is a rare combination, which is like a dynamite. तो वो यदि एक्सप्लोड कर जाए तो कितने लोगों का खतरा हो जाएगा ये नहीं, लेकिन he is a very responsible, very very responsible consumer activist I will call, and he is a very good friend. हम लोग always उस पे डिपेंड करते हैं in terms of कोई भी यदि टेक्निकली साउंड एडवाइस यदि लेना होता है तो हम लोग डॉक्टर कामत की तरफ देखते हैं और उनसे अपेक्षा रखते हैं कि वो हम लोग को गाइडेंस दें। और हम उम्मीद करते हैं आज का जो टॉपिक है उसमें इतने क्लैरिटी आएंगे कि इस सब्जेक्ट को लेकर एक मुहिम छिड़ जाएगा कंट्री में। जो हम लोग कई मुद्दे ऐसा किए हैं जिसके चलते कानून बना, जिसके चलते सशक्तिकरण हुआ कंज्यूमर्स के हमारे देश में, जिसके चलते अवेयरनेस आया। हम चाहते हैं कि आज का ये जो चर्चा हो रहा है और हम देख रहे हैं कि कई माननीय लोग आए हैं, जुड़े हैं, leaders from various professions have joined, whether it is regulatory bodies, whether it is railways. I can see a lot of my friends who have been a great support to me have today joined in this program. So firstly I want to thank them for taking time. And आज के दिन में जो लोग ज्वाइन किया, अष्टमी के दिन में इतने ऑस्पिशियस दिन है, लोग हवन और पूजा में बिजी रहते हैं, लेकिन फिर भी आप लोग समय निकाल कर जो आए हैं हम इसके लिए बहुत ही आभारी हैं। हम ये भी कहना चाहेंगे कि हम लोग बाइलैंग्वेज बात करते हैं, लेकिन there are my friends from South India also who joined us, and some of them find it little difficult to understand Hindi, so we should speak in a bilingual manner so that Hindi, English, we can continue to speak in a way that our subject, right to repair, is well understood by all the participants. And as it was said, I would like to give more time for an interactive session with Dr. Kamath rather than giving time to people to just share their comments. Please ask your questions to the expert, Dr. Kamath. I like to take this opportunity to thank my team who enables me to publish this magazine, The Aware Consumer, without fail on the first of every month, and we have been doing this for the last more than 7 years. What I want to thank is, I can see Payal has also joined us, our very important, pillar of the publication, who is our editor consultant, and all the team members who make it possible to make this magazine get published on the first of every month. So I want to thank my team on this great opportunity today. And I want to start with only one tagline, that यदि कोई भी चीज हम खरीदते हैं और उस उम्मीद से खरीदते हैं कि वो प्रोडक्ट या वो सेवा हमको वैल्यू देगा जिसके लिए हम खरीदे हैं, वो यदि वैल्यू नहीं देता है तो वो हमारे लिए कूड़ा बन जाता है। और कूड़ा जब बन जाता है तो कूड़ा को इकट्ठा करके उसको किस ढंग से डिस्ट्रॉय करना चाहिए वो भी हम लोगों को समझना चाहिए, और जो कूड़ा क्रिएट करता है उसके ऊपर क्या उत्तरदायित्व होना चाहिए वो भी हम लोगों को आज समझना पड़ेगा। क्योंकि हम केवल एक ही प्रिंसिपल रखते हैं हमारे सामने एज अ कंज्यूमर, लाइफ ऑफ अ प्रोडक्ट, वेदर इट इज हाउ एज अ कंज्यूमर हु हैज पेड फॉर इट, व्हाट ही शुड एक्सपेक्ट, व्हाट ही शुड नॉट एक्सपेक्ट are some of the issues which we need to understand. And as you know, India has a very good, well-designed, developed, legislation called the Consumer Protection Act of 2019. which has given certain legal rights to the consumer from the year 1986 when it was first enacted, and now we have a new law in 2019 which has made that law more sharper, more focused, and a lot of new features have come in, which of course I am sure Dr. Kamath will capture in his presentation. Without wasting any more time, I would like to call my friend, a very close dear friend from Bombay, Dr. M.S. Kamath, who is the Honorary Secretary of the Consumer Guidance Society of India. But for me, he is the pillar in the consumer movement in the country. And I would like to invite him now, on behalf of all of you, to share his views and presentations, which he has already kindly done in my magazine, The Aware Consumer, where his interview has been carried. Many of you would have read that. If you have not read it, please go back to the publication and read his interview, which is very interesting and very informative. Without now any kind of a delay, I would request Dr. M.S. Kamath to kindly give his presentation. Do not worry about the time. Of course, we give around 15 minutes, but don't be in a hurry. You have to cover what you want to cover to the participants to listen to you. So take your time, comfortably give your presentation, and let us be aware consumer, because I always believe an aware consumer is a protected consumer. With that, Dr. Kamath, the mic is yours.
Thank you very much, Bijanda. I do hope everybody can hear me.
Yes, you are loud and clear. Yes, you are loud and clear.
Yes.
So I thank everybody for this wonderful opportunity for me to address you. I represent Consumer Guidance Society of India, India's oldest consumer body in the NGO sector. We do a lot of things to help consumers, like many other organizations do. So I don't want to go into a long tirade of what we do and what we don't do. But our focus is to get the consumer always the best possible value for money, as they say, and the best possible services whenever they buy anything or go for any services. Today's topic, the right to repair, has been something which our organization has been working on for quite some time. And we were very happy when the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, can I have the first slide, please? The Ministry of Consumer Affairs made it a point to include a right to repair as one of the rights of the consumer. Because, as I will be explaining to you in my talk, there are very many aspects on repair which are all negative as far as the consumer is concerned. The consumer, वो हम हमेशा हमारे स्टूडेंट्स को, जब मैं लॉ कॉलेज में पढ़ाता हूँ, मेडिकल कॉलेज में पढ़ाता हूँ, तो मैं हमेशा उनको बोलते रहता हूँ कि नो, प्रीवियस स्लाइड प्लीज, प्रीवियस स्लाइड, व्हाई हैव यू वांट टू डू अनदर स्लाइड, फर्स्ट स्लाइड, आई विल से नेक्स्ट स्लाइड, डोंट वरी, नो, प्रीवियस स्लाइड, go on to the next slide. The first slide where my name and everything is there. Yes. When I say next slide, you go to the next slide. No problem. Okay, fine. So I always tell my students that another word for consumer, I ask them, what is another word for consumer? So most of them would come up with the word customer. So I would say, जो कष्ट करके मरता है, वो है customer. So then I would ask them, what is another word for consumer in Hindi? और लोग सब बोलते थे, सर ये वर्ड है उपभोक्ता. तो मैं बोलता हूं, जो सबसे ज्यादा भोगता है वो है उपभोक्ता. और फिर मराठी में हम लोग कहते हैं कि what is the word for consumer in Marathi? It is grahak. And grahak in Bombay has a very difficult connotation called giraik. The giraik is one who is always fooled all the time by all and sundry, जिसको बोलते हैं he is made a fool of all the time. तो हम बोलते हैं ग्राहक को गिरायक बनाते हैं. तो ट्रांसलेशन जो भी करें, आखिर उपभोक्ता रिसीविंग एंड पे ही रहता है. ये दुनिया की, इंडिया की सच्चाई है. क्या ये दुनिया की सच्चाई है? मैं नहीं मानता हूं. Because I think in other parts of the world, consumers are given a lot of importance. Consumers are given number one place when it comes to services. There are some very big companies in America where even in a department store, if you go and return a shirt within a week, they don't even ask you, are you not satisfied with the buttons? Are you not satisfied with the collar? They just replace it for you. That is why in those countries they say consumer is king. Because whatever the consumer wants, he can ask for and get. Unfortunately, in India also consumer is a king. But he is a king until he buys something. The moment he buys something, then he stops being the king. Thereafter, gradually over a period of few weeks, he becomes a beggar. I give this example once again to all the people who hear all my lectures. When you go to buy a phone, say a mobile phone in a shop, the shopkeeper will show you all the different models. Say, this is better than this. This has got 128 GB RAM, this, that, and he will somehow coerce you. He will force you. He will somehow or the other make you sure you buy one. 6 weeks later, if you go back and tell him, boss, sound system is not working, or some particular apps are not working, he'll say, "Rakh ke jao, 4 hafte ke baad aao." When you bought a brand new phone, not for keeping it in the mechanic shop for 4 weeks. And then if you say कि boss 4 हफ्ते के लिए बिना फोन मेरे को बहुत तकलीफ होगी, the answer you get is रखना है तो रखो, नहीं तो आप और किसी के पास जाओ. That means you have to beg of him to get your work done. So consumer is king till he buys something. The moment he goes with some complaint or he wants some services, he starts being a beggar. That is the sad state of Indian consumer. And in that connection, I think it is time now to have a right to repair. Indians are very good at repairing. Remember, Indians have been collecting newspapers and keeping in their attics or in their boxes for weeks on end and selling it as raddi from 1950s, 60s and 70s. At that time, Americans used to laugh at us. कि क्या आप newspaper collect करते हो? But that newspaper used to go into recirculation. It used to be made into pulp. Even today on the streets of Bombay, very often your farsan or your bhajias or your whatever other things are packed in newspaper and given. And it may not be a good practice, but that newspaper is used. Indians know how to make best use of everything. So Indians are pioneers in repairing. Indians are pioneers in recycling. Indians are pioneers in reusing. But somehow, this new tendency which has come now, ki buy it, use it, throw it. That is, according to my understanding, a terrible way of surviving in the world. So that is why we have been very, very keen on the right to repair. Now, the right to repair, for that, next slide, please. We decided that we should have a bill. And before I say anything, I will first of all express my extreme grateful thanks to a team of people who worked with me on this right to repair. Next slide, please. Foremost among them is Solicitor Rajesh Kotari, who is Legal Director of Consumer Guidance Society of India. He has been very much in the forefront. I think right now he is on the program. I see his name there. So he was one of the people who has given very strong support to us in making a bill. I'll tell you about the bill later, what bill we have given. May I have the next slide, please? Then we had a prolific team from Praveen Gandhi Law College in Mumbai. They are faculty in charge. They are professor in law. Dr. Geeta Gupta got 4 of our brightest students whose photographs and names you can see there. And they worked day and night to get us a right to repair bill. Next slide, please. Then we also had a very dynamic team from the Kohinoor Business School and Kohinoor Management School in Mumbai. Now, these people went around, they got the feel of the public sense on what are the right to repair. what is to be done, etc. Now, normally it is a practice to thank people at the end of the lecture. I am reversing that trend and thanking them right at the beginning, because these people have been working day and night and really slogged to see that this comes. And my special thanks to Ms. Minuti Naik, who was the assistant professor in soft skills of the Koinur Management School, for the wonderful efforts they are putting. Next slide, please. Now, let us quickly go through, before I come to what is the bill, let us quickly go through in brief. I know most of you are well briefed on this. See, if you buy some equipment and it goes out of order, then your losses are very substantial. You buy, say, an iPhone, and within 6 months it goes out. Remember, the current iPhones cost 80,000-90,000 and above. iPhone 15 or 14 or whatever. So that's a huge loss to the consumer. There is the second point, which is environmental damage. These phones contain, as a doctor I can tell you, some very harmful minerals like cadmium, magnesium, etc. And they go into landfills. From landfills, they will come back into our environment, which means into our water, into our air, into the gases, etc., which we, and the air which we breathe. So there is an environmental aspect. They are loaded onto plastic boards. It has been estimated that a plastic sheet which is buried in the ground will not dissolve for 300 years. Now that is a huge setback to the environment. Next slide, please. So there is a need for repairing. Now, more and more industry looks upon it as a milk cow, that here is something that if you do not repair it, then consumers are bound to buy more and more. And they say, this is how the economy improves. Yes, the economy improves for the manufacturer, but not for the buyer. The buyer is always at the receiving end. So that is also a very bad thing. We have found in our study, which our students went and did all the work assisted by their professors, that one of the easiest ways to make people buy a new object is to not keep spare parts for the old object. Tell them, yes, spare part milta nahi hai. I don't know how many of you have experienced this, particularly for goods which we repair regularly, like a washing machine or a TV, which are, repairable by our standards, or even for a thing like, say, a refrigerator. Very often, after 4 or 5 or 7 years, the answer given for you to force you to buy a new fridge is to say, spare parts available nahi hai. Sir, आपका compressor गया है, लेकिन नया compressor मिलता नहीं है AC का, तो आपको नया खरीदना पड़ेगा. The compressor may cost you 4,000, a new AC will cost you 30,000. Now, this is one of the ways to force you to buy new goods and not to do repairs. And another very good aspect which I went to recently is when I had a TV which required repair. I had paid about 28 or 30,000 rupees when I bought it. They said the motherboard has gone out of order. So I told them, fine, buy me a motherboard and put. They told me a new motherboard will now cost you 22,000 rupees. I said, boss, something is wrong with you. मैंने कहा कि भैया ये क्या हो रहा है? Original complete TV का 30,000 और एक मदरबोर्ड का 22,000. सर वो मदरबोर्ड आसानी से मिलता नहीं है. कंपनी के पास लिमिटेड स्टॉक है. तो हम क्या करें सर? कंपनी हमको 22,000 में बेच रही है. So I phoned the company, and the company indeed said that. They said, yes, sir, this board is in short supply. I said, why is it in short supply? They said, because at that time we had manufactured it 7 years ago. Now we are not manufacturing it anymore. It's short supply. That is why 22,000. So this is one of the ways in which consumers are exploited left, right, and center. Next slide, please. Now, we have come out with a bill. Now, some of the rules or some of the guidelines which we have laid down are on this. One thing is manufacturer must give a guarantee that the product is repairable. रिपेयर ये हो ही नहीं सकता है, ये सवाल ही नहीं उठना चाहिए. अगर ऐसा प्रोडक्ट है तो आप ऐसा प्रोडक्ट मार्केट में मत बेचिए, particularly if it's a costly product. If it's a small product which costs 100, 150, 300 rupees, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. लेकिन आप मुझे अगर 80,000 का आईफोन बेच रहे हो और कह रहे हो कि भाई ये रिपेयर हम कर ही नहीं सकते, तो ऐसा प्रोडक्ट मार्केट में नहीं आना चाहिए. सेकेंड पॉइंट, हम लोगों ने कहा कि स्पेयर पार्ट्स अवेलेबल करना आपकी जवाबदारी है. अगर आप किसी manufacturers are also not fools. When they manufacture a product, they know that over a period of 3 or 4 years, iPhone का speaker चला जाएगा, over a period of some other small part चला जाएगा. So they will have an idea that if they have sold 20 million iPhones, then at least 1 million speakers should be there, or 1 million of some small chip needs to be there. So they cannot say. And the principle was that this should be done at the time the product hits the market. बाद में मत बोलो कि हमें पता ही नहीं था. Tell people upfront कि हम लोगों ने 20 million iPhones डाले हैं मार्केट में और 2 million parts आपके लिए रेडी रखे हैं, so that nobody can fool me and say कि साहब ये पार्ट अवेलेबल नहीं है, इसलिए आपको 5 गुना पैसे देने पड़ेंगे. This is the third point which is in that slide. Next slide, please. One of the big problems of latest technology is that the repair can take place only with certain licensed repairing authorities or licensed repair service centers. We have said that it should not be a secret. There should be manuals and video demos on how to repair products. And repair kits should be available. Now, some smart person from the audience will like to ask me कि सर ये सब करके कौन अपने ही पैर पे कुराड़ी मारेगा, कौन कहेगा कि भाई रिपेयर किट लो और आप खुद रिपेयर करो. अभी आप जान लो, अमेरिका में आईफोन के लिए एक रिपेयर किट मिलता है. आईफोन जब आप खरीदते हो आपको पूछते हैं आपको रिपेयर किट खरीदना है. All common repairs you will be able to do at home yourself by looking at videos and demos. Now, if a big company like iPhone, which is very, very monopolistic, आप सबको मालूम होगा कि iPhone पे जो apps चलते हैं उनको कुछ और ही बनाना पड़ता है. अगर आप कोई ऐप डाउनलोड करने जाओगे ना स्टोर के ऊपर, वो पहले पूछता है आपको is it for Android or is it for iPhone. If it is iOS, then it's a different method altogether, because they have put so many technological blocks in that product कि Android वाला उन पे चलेगा नहीं. And last is how to repair is now available on internet. It is available on YouTube. Everywhere it is available. तो वैसा ही available होना चाहिए ताकि इंडिया में there are millions of unemployed youths. They can get jobs. They can set up small shops and they can repair all these things just by proper training and by looking at the demos. Next slide, please. Yeah, what is summary of what I said? That Indians are very dexterous in repairing old products. आप लोगों ने तो देखा ही होगा कि यूपी, बिहार और सब जगह में जनरेटर से उन लोग साइकिल बनाते हैं, जनरेटर से मोटरसाइकिल बनाते हैं. हाल ही मैंने एक YouTube पे वीडियो देखा कि एक खटिया को 4 व्हील्स लगा के एक आदमी उसको खींच के एक कार की तरह लेके जा रहा है और वो खटिया के ऊपर 6 आदमी बैठे हुए हैं और एक उसके ऊपर. यू सी, इंडियंस आर वेरी गुड एट जुगाड़. जुगाड़ करने में हमसे सीख लो. खटिया को खींच के लेके जा रहे हैं उसको 4 व्हील लगा के और 6 आदमी बैठे हैं, तो वो बोलते हैं ये इंडियन मोटर कार है. तो मेरा कहने का मतलब, ऐसे लोग जब देश में हैं, बस आप उनको थोड़ा ट्रेनिंग दे दो, फिर वो आपको आके ट्रेनिंग देंगे कि कैसा आपको रिपेयर करना है करके. सो ये रद्दी कंसेप्ट हमारे पास 50 साल से ज्यादा है. न्यूज़पेपर जैसे मैंने कहा लोग बचा के रखते हैं. न्यूज़पेपर कोई फेंकता नहीं है. प्लास्टिक लोग फेंकते हैं इसलिए वो रास्ते पे आ जाता है. मैंने मिनिस्ट्री को एक सजेशन भी दिया था कि वो बोल रहे थे कि प्लास्टिक्स आर गोइंग टू बी, बोला सर प्लीज इंसेंटिवाइज पीपल जस्ट लाइक न्यूज़पेपर. People don't throw newspaper because you get 20 rupees a kilo. You get it in Bombay. If you go and sell newspaper, 20 rupees a kilo. प्लास्टिक को बोलो 80 रुपीज a kilo. लोग देखो पकड़ पकड़ के प्लास्टिक, रास्ते से प्लास्टिक उठा के घर पे लेके आएंगे कि भाई 80 रुपए किलो मिल रहा है. मैं इंसेंटिवाइज करो लोग. तो ये 2 पॉइंट्स हैं जिसके वजह से सब कुछ होता है. अभी आप पूछेंगे सब लोग रिपेयर करना है, क्या करना है. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज. This is a general statement. Everybody wins the right to repair. Nobody loses. Even companies. See, when they sell the parts, I don't expect them to sell them at the value at which it made them. Suppose there is a chip which they are made for say 800 rupees. I don't mind if they sell it for 1000 or 1200 rupees. Why? They have also to survive. I am not one of those rabid activists who say that industry should not survive, only consumers should survive. Consumers also survive because of industry. When industry gives them all, आज आप सोचिए किराने वाला आपको राइस वीट सब नहीं बेचेगा तो कैसे, how will you survive in the world? So industry, service providers, hospitals, consumers, we are all in the same boat. Only thing is we are doing different aspects of our job, of our respective job. तो ये हम लास्ट पॉइंट की, a new workforce can be trained for repairing. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज. अब ये मैंने कहीं एक कार्टून देखा था. वो बोले कि अगर तुम राइट टू रिपेयर करोगे तो सब आदमी बोलेंगे, ये बोलेगा मेरे को राइट टू रिपेयर चाहिए, दूसरा बोलेगा राइट टू सेल स्पेयर पार्ट चाहिए, तीसरा बोलेगा मेरे को टेक्नोलॉजी, और कंज्यूमर पीछे से बोल रहा है कि ये सब में मेरा क्या होगा, मैं तो लुट तो नहीं जाऊंगा. तो वो लेडी जो पीछे खड़ी है वो कंज्यूमर रिप्रेजेंट करती है. शी इज आस्किंग द क्वेश्चन, इज इट गोइंग टू कॉस्ट मी मोर टू रिपेयर बिकॉज़ ऑफ दीस पीपल फाइटिंग. दिस इज व्हाट हैपेंस व्हेनेवर वी कम आउट विद अ न्यू थिंग. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज. थैंक यू वेरी मच. आई विल नाउ गिव ब्रीफली अ स्मॉल इंट्रोडक्शन ऑन टू द राइट टू रिपेयर बिल व्हिच वी हैव सबमिटेड टू द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया. मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ कंज्यूमर अफेयर्स को कंज्यूमर गाइडेंस सोसाइटी ऑफ इंडिया ने एक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव बिल दिया है, starting from definition of repair right down to what should be the punishment for somebody who does not repair. ये बिल बहुत सोच समझ के किया है. मुझे कोई शर्म नहीं बोलने के लिए कि हम लोगों ने बहुत सारे इसमें से कहीं कहीं दूसरे एक्ट्स में से उठाए हैं, क्योंकि अंग्रेजी में कहा जाता है there is no need to reinvent the wheel. कुछ 2000 या 5000 से पहले किसी ने व्हील बनाया था तो आप बना के वापस रीइन्वेंट करने की कोशिश मत करो. उस व्हील को इस्तेमाल करो, उसको रिफाइन करके और अच्छी तरह से यूज करो. तो वी हैव गिवन ए कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव बिल. उस बिल के अंदर हम लोगों ने कई शर्तें लगाई हैं. शर्त ऐसे लगाया है कि एक किट देना चाहिए, रिपेयर किट जो मार्केट में अवेलेबल होना चाहिए हर प्रोडक्ट के लिए. स्पेयर पार्ट्स इजीली अवेलेबल होने चाहिए. जो जिस दिन आप आपका लास्ट रेफ्रिजरेटर या एयर कंडीशनर बेचते हो उसके बाद 7 साल के लिए वो प्रोडक्ट के स्पेयर पार्ट मार्केट में या मैन्युफैक्चरर के पास होने चाहिए, और उसके कीमत स्पेयर पार्ट्स के वेबसाइट पे लिखने चाहिए कि मेरा कंप्रेसर का इतना है, मेरे थर्मोस्टेट का इतना है, जो भी है, मोटरसाइकिल का व्हील का इतना है, मोटरसाइकिल का लाइट का इतना है, और चाहे तो हर 2 साल 5 या 10% आप अपनी कीमत बढ़ाइए, क्योंकि आप संभाल के रख रहे हो, आपको भी प्रॉफिट होना चाहिए. कंपनियां सिर्फ दिवालिया होंगे और कंज्यूमर खुशी खुशी नाचते रहेंगे, ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता. वी आर ऑल इन दिस, एज आई सेड, इन द सेम थिंग. और एक हमने उसमें लिखा है कि सब जो प्रोडक्ट्स हैं उनको रिपेयर करने का हक अगर कोई देता नहीं है तो देयर मस्ट बी एन इंडिपेंडेंट सेटअप which will try all these people. Try in the sense which will bring them to book, just like consumer court. अभी मिसफॉर्च्यून क्या है इस देश में कि कंज्यूमर कोर्ट देश ने बनाया, लेकिन आज बंबई में 2013 और 2014 के मैटर चल रहे हैं 9 साल के बाद. और इसमें सबसे बड़ी दुख की बात क्या है कि सिविल मैटर्स और क्रिमिनल मैटर्स, आज ही मैं न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ रहा था कि किसी ने जो 2019 में क्राइम किया उसको 2023 में सजा मिलती है. क्रिमिनल प्रोसीजर इज अ वेरी लॉन्ग प्रोसीजर विद एविडेंसेस, क्रॉस एग्जामिनेशन, व्हाट नॉट. ये अगर 4 साल में वो कर सकते हैं तो हमारे कंज्यूमर कोर्ट 8 या 10 साल में क्यों नहीं कर सकते? तो मैं हमेशा सबको बोलता हूं कि इंडिया में वी आर अ वेरी स्ट्रेंज कंट्री. We have acts and acts and acts, different types of acts. Contract Act, Indian Consumer Protection Act. We have got Indian Contract Act. We have got Competition Commission Act. There are all acts. There are acts and acts and acts, but nobody acts. Acts बहुत है हमारे पास, लेकिन काम कुछ होता नहीं है. कोई इसको अमल बजावनी नहीं करता है, इसकी कोई उसकी परवाह नहीं करता. मेरी मेडिकल प्रोफेशन का ही बोलता हूँ. There is an act which says that you are not allowed to determine the sex of a baby prior to its birth. साहब, आज भी बम्बई जैसे शहरों में ये चल रहा है. क्यों? इंडियन जुगाड़. कि किसी को बोलो मत कि तुमको लड़का होना है, लड़की होने वाली है. बोलो आपके घर में गणेश जी आ रहे हैं या आपके घर में लक्ष्मी जी आ रही है. अभी लक्ष्मी जी तो आती हैं, अभी सरस्वती जी आ रही है कल ने परसों, और लक्ष्मी जी आएंगी दिवाली में. तो उसने क्या गलत बोला? गणेश जी तो मुंबई में बहुत बड़ा सेलिब्रेशन होता है, तो गणेश जी भी आते हैं गणेश जी के टाइम पे. तो इट इज नॉट एन ऑफेंस टू से गणेश जी आने वाले हैं. लेकिन देयर आर एक्ट्स एंड एक्ट्स एंड एक्ट्स बट नोबडी एक्ट्स. मैं सबको रिक्वेस्ट करता हूं कि ये आप यूज नहीं कर सकते हैं. ये मैंने स्टेटमेंट पेटेंट करके रखा है, तो अगर इस पेटेंट को कोई इसका उल्लंघन करेगा तो 10,000 रुपया जुर्माना भरना पड़ेगा. तो देयर आर एक्ट्स एंड एक्ट्स एंड एक्ट्स बट नोबडी एक्ट्स. ये मेरा पेटेंटेड स्लोगन है. तो लास्टली हमने कहा है कि इसके लिए एक अलग इंप्लीमेंटेशन फोर्स चाहिए. जस्ट लाइक इन TRAI देयर इज TDSAT, जस्ट लाइक इन TRAI में ऑल्सो देयर आर consumer bodies who are sitting in appellate jurisdiction. So there must be an independent system. Otherwise, if it goes into regular system, poor consumer will either have to buy a new AC or he will have to keep his AC with him for 15 years. So now, one of the questions which somebody asked me once was, sir, what is the point of making an act and giving it to the government? Government knows how to make the act. My experience with government has been that whenever you go there, they will say, sir, ये parliamentary committee देख रही है, sir, ये justice department कर रहा है, sir, ये हमारे वकीलों के पास गया है. तो हमने बोला, चलो यार, बनी बनाई खिचड़ी बना के आपको दे देते हैं. आपको उसमें थोड़ा नमक या मिरी, काली मिरी जो भी डालनी है आप डाल दो, लेकिन ये बनी बनाई खिचड़ी पकड़ो अपने हाथ में. So then many of the steps will be cut down. It is a skeleton what we have given. We are not saying that it should be passed as it is. I request all of you to read it. If you don't have a copy, ask me for a copy or ask the aware consumer people for a copy. The Right to Repair Act which we have done, we will send it across to you. But इसमें एक ही हमारा मकसद था कि गवर्नमेंट को रेडीमेड दे के जो पहले 10-12 स्टेप्स हैं कि उसको बनाओ, उसका कंसेप्ट क्या है, उसके नींव कैसे होगी, उसके फंडामेंटल्स क्या होंगे, उसके ओपनिंग पैराग्राफ कैसा होगा, उसमें क्या होगा, ये सब करके हमें बताया ये रेडीमेड है, अभी आप उसको जो चाहे फिर बदल करो. I request you in all the consumer organizations, please put your suggestions forward. We are not asking for any patent or trademark, unlike the other one which I said I want a patent or trademark. I don't want any patent or trademark. Let the public get the benefit of this. With this, I thank all of you for patient hearing on a Sunday morning. I thank the organizers for giving me this wonderful opportunity. And if anybody has any questions, most welcome. Ask me all sorts of questions, even the most embarrassing ones. I don't mind. Because when you ask your questions from your heart, you will be more enlightened. And I will also feel nice that you have not gone through the session by switching off your video and had a cup of tea and come back and said, चलो अभी lecture हो गया, चलो हमने lecture सुन लिया. तो आपने सुना, इसका गारंटी तब होगा जब आप बोलेंगे कि आप सवाल मेरे को पूछेंगे. Thank you very much, everybody.
So thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Dr. Kamath, for a very enlightenment-full kind of a narration of how the right to repair bill which you have drafted on behalf of the citizens got initiated, and where it would be at the present moment, I'm sure by the end of the conversation, we will come to know. I can see 3 hands have been raised, and I would be very happy to request them to come one at a time. I will just introduce them because many of them are known to me. I will start with Mr. Atulya Sinha. You know, Atulya Sinha was the additional general manager of the Southeastern Railway, and I met him because he was based out of Lucknow when he used to be actively participating within the Quality Council of India, representing the railways in promoting quality. And he's a champion in quality, let me tell you. And Atulya now from Southeastern Railway in Kolkata at Garden Reach, at additional general manager, he moved to Chittaranjan Locomotive Works, and now he's moved to Bihar. And he will give a brief description about his present work while he will ask his questions also. Atulya, please unmute and come.
Good morning. Thank you, Professor Mishra. Thank you for giving me this chance to speak, and thank you for introducing me. I have been serving Indian Railways for the past 35 years, and shortly I am joining as Chief Administrative Officer at the rail wheel plant at Bela near Patna. I would like to thank Dr. Kamath for a very interesting and thought-provoking presentation. And I'd like to ask just one question. The points which you made are very valid, but they are equally applicable to industrial products. So is the act or the proposed act only talking of consumer products or also industrial products?
Sir, at the moment, the focus is on the consumer. For the simple reason that industry has got finance officers, law officers, etc. And industry knows how to even twist the supplier and get its work done. I mean, let me give you an example. Suppose a very big order is given to, say, BHEL, and a particular boiler or something is not working properly. Then, say, Indian Railways knows how to twist the arms of BHEL and get. But I am not at all averse to this being open to industry also. Because the same rules which apply for consumers apply for industry also. When industry gets something, they should not be running from pillar to post and stopping their production or getting it done from outside just because something on their premises has been let down by a poor product. So I think your point is very well taken. And as a person myself, I have no objection because it will be a slight extension of what I have said so far.
Excellent. Excellent. And Atulya, let me assure you, we will share a draft copy of the bill which Dr. Kamath and team has made. You know, I saw a lot of youngsters have got involved in developing that, and they are all competent youngsters who are in college. You know, I would like to recognize them also at some point of time for doing this great work. And then you can insert that language which you feel are missing, which will take care of industrial units also. Because it's an important dimension you have asked, and I think it should not get missed out, because at the end of the day, the consumer lands up paying for all the cost involved, which is being incurred by the industrial units also. So at the end of the day, the payer is always the consumer. So I think it should get holistically included, like the 2019 Act in the Consumer Protection Act has included a lot of entrepreneurial enterprises also to go to the consumer protection arena to seek redressal. So I think we will consult with you and take your views on that, and we will move forward in a way which will bring in your dimension, which you today expressed to us. I'll go now straight to Praful Bhai, our very senior, board member, 84 plus, staying in Baroda, always keeping a smile with Ranjan Ben, beside him. He doesn't move without her, and I can know the source of her strength because she is all the time there to support. Praful Bhai, your question, please.
Yes. Thank you, Vijayanda. Ranjan Ben is my inspiration. Dr. Kamath, I have been facing a very peculiar problem on 2 or 3 occasions. In case of malfunctioning, the trader generally informs to keep the invoice and any complaint to contact manufacturer service center. Manufacturer refers me to the service engineer and closes the file. My question is, my problem has not been solved. The file kaise band ho gaya? Now, what do I do with the manufacturer? Because he has washed his hands. So now I am between the service center or finally third party. What is your, what do you suggest?
Sir, I will give you one small example of what I have undergone myself and from which I learned a lot of things about how other parts of the world behave. My younger daughter gave her sister, my younger daughter who stays in America, gave her sister in Mumbai an iPhone. And that iPhone started malfunctioning in about 6 months. Couple of months later, my elder daughter happened to be going to America. And when she went and told her sister that the iPhone is not working, she said, don't worry, I bought it from just around the corner from where I stay. Go to that shop and tell him this is what is happening. Now, my elder daughter said, but that guy doesn't know me. He'll ask me for a receipt and where is the receipt? So my younger daughter said, the moment I sent it to you in India, I threw it into the nearest trash bin. So she said, you go, nothing will happen. They'll take care of you. My elder daughter most reluctantly went to that shop. And the first thing he asked, as you rightly said, is, do you have an invoice? So she said, she explained what I just now told you. And surprisingly, that gentleman said, wait, I will check. He took the instrument inside, found out the IMEI number, and 2 minutes back and said, yes, this was sold on 16th of April to some lady named so-and-so, and it was purchased from our store. The moral of the story is, sir, technology is now so strong that in this we can include that when you sell something in your technology, there must be a backup which says to Dr. Kamath, I sold a Samsung ABCD or a Voltas refrigerator. And the moment I go to any Voltas shop, they ask me my name and address or maybe my mobile number. Immediately they say, yes, sir. 8 months back or 12 months back, you had purchased this. This is what my record shows. So then the question of asking invoices, etc., does not arise. Incidentally, in that phone story, the phone story gets further interesting because he said, I can see that there is something wrong, but this is a software problem. It's not a hardware problem. He took it from my daughter and said, come in the evening at 6 o'clock. Either I will repair it or I will give you a new phone free as a replacement. When she went in the evening, he told her it was a software problem. We've corrected it. How many days more are you in America? So she said, I'm here for another 10 to 15 days. She said, before you go, if you have any problem, please do come back. And if we cannot solve it, rest assured, we will give you a new iPhone. Now, that is the type of service and respect which consumers should demand. You see, I'm sorry, I'm using the word demand. It should not be demand, it should be command. The consumer is king. So when the king walks into your shop, you should immediately get up and say, yes, sir, what can I do for you? But unfortunately, this is not a condition.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Kamath. And next would be, I'll give a small introduction about Rajiv Nath. Rajiv Nath ji has been a champion on medical devices and promoting quality in the medical devices industry in India, has been a great supporter of ours. And today is a very auspicious day for us because it happens to be his father's birth anniversary. Late Sri Narendranath, as we call him affectionately Rajaji, he was born on 22nd of October 1921. And we lost him on 31st of January 2019. I was very fortunate to have met him. Again, a very inspiring person. Today, let me announce to you all, I've given a proposal to him to consider that why not we celebrate Medical Devices Day in India today on the 22nd of October every year and declare 22nd October as a Medical Devices Day to promote quality in medical devices. Because recently I was in Vizag and I came to know a very alarming kind of a news that 80% of medical devices still in our country are being imported. Only 20% are being manufactured indigenously in India, which of course Rajiv ji will be able to elaborate. But Rajiv ji, you can go ahead to ask your question, and I'm waiting for your consent to celebrate the India Medical Devices Day today in the coming years, launched by the Aware Consumer. So the question and the mic is yours, Rajiv ji. Please come.
Thanks a lot. Pleasure to be over here and great learnings. Dr. Kamath, excellent presentation. And every point of yours was very well thought out and hard-hitting and very fair expectations. I will not say demand or command, but very fair expectations. And I also agree what was mentioned earlier. Even as a manufacturer, we are an industrial buyer and an industrial consumer. And we face the same challenges over there, even from reputed companies, whether it is Blue Star or Voltas, who may generally be having good reputation, but sometimes they do trip. So consistency in service delivery is definitely required. And definitely having a 7 years availability of spare parts is the bare minimum that they should be assuring when they sell an equipment, or the availability of an AMC, and the AMC charges also should be done in a very fair manner, and the increase of the AMC charges from year to year also should be done in a fair manner, which we find that sometimes just to get the manufacturer out of the AMC and force him to buy a new equipment, they will be doubling the AMC charges or making the repair cost nearly equal to the cost of a new equipment. My question, Dr. Kamath, is regarding the issue about why you felt the need to have this as a separate act. Just educate me. Why not seek an amendment or additional clauses in the existing Consumer Protection Act?
I agree with you. This could be a part of the rules, just like you have, because the original act has got about 8 or 10 sets of rules attached to it. But we felt this was there because this is a different subject altogether. One. And the problem is, I believe, I don't say you should believe, that every act should have an inbuilt mechanism to enforce the act. Suppose, I'm a very strong believer in, suppose say RBI is there. Any matter regarding to banks must be handled by a regulatory authority which belongs to RBI. Suppose, the commonest example, if an old note which is torn, the scheduled banks are supposed to give it to you without asking any questions. But the commonest question is, aapke paas, mere paas account hai kya? Which is totally unfair and which is against the rules. So if I go to a Reserve Bank authority and they should, for that 5 rupee note, the Reserve Bank should fine them 50,000 rupees, so that it has a salutary effect on the whole system, that aisa karoge to they fall upon us like on a ton of bricks. Now, Consumer Protection Act, sir, is overloaded. Even the National Commission, which I am told has now been perked up by a lot of methods, is right now struggling with a huge backlog of more than about 25,000 cases. And 2013, 14, 15 cases are being heard in 2023. I once had the opportunity to ask one of the senior judges. I said, sir, some of the complaints which come to you, like for example, you give your wife's sari for ironing and that istriwala burns it. Then does it take 5 to 7 years for you to give us an order? So this is a very, very sad state of affairs. Like I said, right at the beginning, there are acts and nobody acts. That is the reason why at the end of the act I have said there has to be an enforcement mechanism. That enforcement mechanism should act as a salutary. Now, when Consumer Protection Act came way back in 1986, we all had very high hopes that it would have a salutary effect on all the industries to behave properly out of fear, which is what happens in foreign countries. But today, banking, insurance, builders, all these people, they cock a snook at the consumer. And very sorry to say, many of them, by the time you get your judgments and your orders, an appeal and a revision and a higher court and a lower court, etc., you are too old to make benefit of it. And sometimes, particularly in builders and high value things, the fellow goes into liquidation. And the moment you go into liquidation, you can't recover even a single rupee. So these are very sad state of affairs. So to expedite the whole process, I have put a separate mechanism into this. But if all the wise people in parliament and wise people like you make up your mind that you want to be part of the Consumer Protection Act, I have absolutely no objection to the same. But give me justice and give it to me in time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I would just like to come on to that can I come in? So Dr. Kamath, just as a strategy, while you do seek an act to be tabled to the parliament, and that is normally a long, very lengthy process to bring in legislation, why not have a parallel strategy of also seeking an amendment in the rules, because the rules can be done by the bureaucracy rapidly. And that may not take years, but a few weeks and months. It depends upon how sensitized and how much ownership they have about the same problem that you're putting across over there. So why not on both the fronts?
I am very comfortable. I am extremely comfortable. But
thank you.
Looking at Consumer Act, looking at consumer courts, my heart starts giving little palpitations. So being a doctor, I don't like to get palpitations. So that's the reason why I say, bhaiya yaar koi alag system karo. Thank you.
But please share with us, and we will definitely like to circulate to our membership. At IMED, we encourage responsible manufacturing, and we would like to encourage our members, don't give their consumers and the hospitals, their customers, any heartburns or any palpitations. So whether the law is there or not, we will encourage them that they should abide by this expectation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rajiv Nathji. You know, we are all very confident that with your support, we would be able to take things forward in a much more rapid and a fast track manner, which we all desire that it should happen in our country. We'll keep working the way we have been doing in a joint effort. So I will get back to Dr. Kamath to understand how we can also in parallel start certain strategic movement where that relief and remedies are given in a prompter and in a faster manner. I come to now one of our very active consumer activists, but before that, I want to ask Mr. Hari Ram Chaudhary. He had raised his hand and he has raised it down now. So which means his question has got answered. Am I right? Hari Ram ji? Hari Ram ji Chaudhary, you have to unmute and come. आपको unmute करके आना होगा.
हाँ, मेरा प्रश्न बहुत छोटा है. देखिए, पहले तो मैं ये बताना चाहता हूँ कि मैं कंज्यूमर गाइडेंस सोसाइटी का लाइफ मेंबर होने के नाते कामत जी के संपर्क में कई सालों से हूँ. पेजौन मिश्रा जी के साथ में भी संपर्क में कई सालों से हूँ. ये मेरा सौभाग्य है. अब मेरा प्रश्न यही है कि आपने कामत जी बहुत अच्छी बात बताई. स्पेयर पार्ट्स अवेलेबल नहीं है, ये हमेशा एक्सक्लूड दिया जाता है और हमें नया प्रोडक्ट खरीदना ही पड़ता है. आपने रियल सिचुएशन को आपने सामने लाया है. उनके सामने आपने बिल भी प्रिपेयर किया है, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ कंज्यूमर अफेयर्स को दिया है. प्रश्न अभी है कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा पैसा हमें जल्दी से मिले. 3 ऑप्शन है. या तो ऑर्डिनेंस पास हो, नंबर 2 पार्लियामेंट में जल्दी पास कराया जाए, या एग्जिस्टिंग एक्ट को ही अमेंडमेंट किया जाए. अब तीनों ऑप्शन में जो भी हो सकता है पीछे पड़ के कराया जाए. लेकिन आप जो भी काम कर रहे हैं कंज्यूमर गाइडेंस सोसाइटी की तरफ से बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं. और मैं मीटिंग में तो आपसे मिलता ही रहता हूँ. अब नेक्स्ट मीटिंग में भी आपसे मिलेंगे. तो उम्मीद करूंगा कि जल्दी से जल्दी ये हमें कानून हमें प्राप्त हो. थैंक यू.
धन्यवाद. थैंक यू वेरी मच.
सर, may I put a small remark? हरिराम जी, एक्चुअली ये सब की जरूरत नहीं है. एक बात बताता हूँ आपको, अगर इंडस्ट्री खुद सेल्फ रेगुलेट करे, अगर ये जैसे हमारे प्रीवियस क्वेश्चन पूछने वाले ने कहा था, इफ इंडस्ट्री रेगुलेट्स इटसेल्फ एंड सेज among themselves they make a decision ki we will attend to complaints on priority basis and we will have our own regulatory body which will see to it will act. The second thing is, ये एक मेरा एक बहुत बड़ा सपना है और वो सपना ही रहेगा मेरे ख्याल से जब तक मैं जिंदा हूँ. मैं अभी 69 साल का हूँ, इसलिए मैं बोल रहा हूँ जब तक मैं मेरा सपना रहेगा कि अगर कंज्यूमर्स यूनाइट हो गए. मान लो कि एक नाम लेने के लिए मैं ले रहा हूं कि भाई एप्पल का एक फोन 5 उसके लोगों ने कंप्लेंट किया कि ये एप्पल के ये फोन में ऐसा ऐसा प्रॉब्लम है और कंज्यूमर रेजिस्टेंस होके उनका सेल 25% डाउन हो गया. तो देख लो कैसे वो आके आपका फोन रिपेयर करते हैं क्या नहीं, या आपको बदली देते हैं क्या नहीं. देखिए, अमेरिका में वो डर उनको क्या रहता है कि नाम अगर खराब हो गया तो उनके सेल्स डाउन होंगे. और अल्टीमेटली ये सब कंपनीज को और सर्विस प्रोवाइडर्स को पैसे से ही मतलब है. एक हॉस्पिटल को भी अपने नाम का बहुत इंपॉर्टेंस रहता है. तो इफ consumers start avoiding hospitals which are doing malpractices, if consumers start bringing down the sales of companies which don't give service, then you don't need any law. Then, as I said, you will command respect. You don't need, and today, unfortunately, you are demanding respect. Thank you.
थैंक यू सर। खाली फीडबैक देना चाहता हूँ,
हरिराम
फीडबैक
जी,
देना चाहता हूँ बेजोन जी। आपने मुझे लिंक भेजा, बहुत इमीडिएटली मैंने ज्वाइन कर लिया। कामत जी ने भी लिंक भेजा था पर वो काम नहीं कर रहा था, और मिश्रा जी के लिंक भेजने से मैंने जोड़ लिया। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
थैंक यू वेरी मच। आप लोग सबको हम आभारी हैं कि आप लोग ज्वाइन किए। हम ऑलवेज ये कहते हैं कि उपभोक्ताओं का ब्रह्म अस्त्र है बहिष्कार करना। इसको हम लोग ब्रह्म अस्त्र कहते हैं, बिकॉज दैट इज द फाइनल काइंड ऑफ अ act which the consumer can do is the right to boycott. So that is a very big kind of a weapon which all consumers have got, but we rarely use it. But अब लगता है कि हम लोगों को इस ढंग के ब्रह्मास्त्र यूज करना पड़ेगा बहुत जल्दी से जल्दी। ये कहने के बाद हम मैथ्यू साहब के पास जाना चाहते हैं। मिस्टर मथाई, please come. He is a very active consumer activist based out of Kerala, and we all know him as a very strong fighter in the consumer movement. Mr. Matthew, please come, unmute and come. Please come.
Good morning, Bijan ji, and all other reputed dignitaries. I have a very simple question. That the people, those who are poor, and by the interest of the people, they are going to buy fridge and washing machine. Now the cases are coming for the washing machine. For 6 months, it will go out. When they are going, it is written their warranty for 7 years. The fridge, it is also written warranty for 5 years or 10 years. But when we are asking the shop owner or the distributor, they will say, you have to look under the written warranty. The warranty is written big. It is in 6 inches type. But under that, they have written that the warranty is only for the engine or for the component which will not go for repair. So when we are asking for the repair, they will say that the product is not there and they are not giving, and we cannot repair because it is the warranty is for 7 years and we cannot get the materials also. So it is a very, very tragedy. The BC is saying, Bureau of Fitness Standards is saying that they are giving the registration only for the machine. But for the washing machine, it has too many components. They have no guarantee or warranty. So sir, please, how we can get rid of this problem and how we can get repair, because when Dr. Kamal said that we have to develop a training system for repairing. So I think that if everybody can repair this thing, then it will be very less amount. So sir, thank you for inviting me for this very reasonable issue.
I will answer this question in a very simple way. Now, the latest Consumer Protection Act with amendments in 2019, it is clearly mentioned that a one-sided contract or a contract which is not in public interest can be set aside by a consumer court. It is known as unfair trade practice or also known as one-sided contracts. Now, those can be set aside. Now, the unfortunate thing, Mr. Mathai, is that for that to enforce, you have to go to a consumer court. And believe me honestly, if the amount for which you are fighting is small, then going to a consumer court will cost you much, much more in terms of time, money, and effort. We have had a consumer who almost lost his job in his office because every 3 or 4 weeks consumer court used to give date. This poor fellow used to take leave from his office and go there, and every time used to say, "Saab, mera consumer court mein matter hai." One day his boss called and told him, "Aap ya to office mein kaam karo ya consumer court mein aapka complaint follow karo." Very clearly on his face. The poor fellow came literally weeping to us and said, "Sir, you asked me to file case, I have done. Now, what am I supposed to do?" It is a reality of life. You see, time is money. Unfortunately, in India, and particularly in courts, they do not believe that time is money. I have had the great misfortune of attending courts regularly where they call us at 10:30. The day you don't go at 10:45, they will call and say you have not come and pass adverse remarks. And most of the other days, you go at 10:30, at 4:30 in the evening, they'll give you a date. Now, 6 hours for a medical professional to give up his work, to give up his patients and go is not a joke. And there are doctors who are sued. There are other people who are sued who go there. But so the consumer court system needs a tremendous overhaul. And unfortunately, as I said, what you said is very true. That if you buy, say, for example, a fridge, they will say a 7-year warranty only on the compressor, the thermostat and the other things, and particularly plastic things. If any plastic thing breaks or the gasket or something goes out of order, they will say, plastic hai. Plastic ka to koi guarantee nahi hota hai. That means after 3 months also they may ask you to change the gasket. By the way, when you change the gasket, you think it is a small amount, but a gasket is a very important aspect of the fridge. It costs 4,000 to 5,000 rupees out of the 30 or 40,000 for the fridge for them to come and replace it. So, see, these are what we are trying to cure in this right to repair bill. We are saying ki Baba, make it so difficult for the industry people that they will do it as a matter of habit rather than a matter of coercion. मुझे जाके जबरदस्ती करना नहीं पड़ेगा, वो उसको आके ही करना पड़ेगा. That is why right to repair. It will take a long time, Mr. Mathai. I am not promising you, or I don't think Professor Mishra also will promise you कि 2 महीने में, 4 महीने में, 6 महीने में होगा. 5 साल 10 साल भी लग सकते हैं, लेकिन लड़ के इसको स्टैट्यूट में लेके आना पड़ेगा.
40 साल डॉक्टर कामत, 40 साल लगे हुए हैं, अभी भी लगे रहेंगे. तब तक लगे रहेंगे जब तक वो उपभोक्ताओं को वो मतलब सशक्तिकरण नहीं मिलेगा, जहां पर people are bound or they're scared that they have to do it. Either a good exchange and refund policy has to be there, or there has to be a great policy in terms of consumer protection. अभी तक हम लोग के देश में कंज्यूमर प्रोटेक्शन पॉलिसी करके डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं आया है, जो हम लोग करीब 30 साल से मांग रहे हैं सरकार से. वो कहीं ना कहीं अधूरा रह जा रहा है वो पॉलिसी. इसके लिए हम लोगों को लाना अनिवार्य है, क्योंकि उनको मालूम है कि वो कहाँ फेल कर रहे हैं, सरकार कहाँ फेल हो रहा है. हम लोग अपॉलिटिकल लोग हैं, हम लोग उनको विश्वास करते हैं जो करके दिखाता है. तो उस पॉलिटिकल पार्टी हमारे लिए बेस्ट है, जो उपभोक्ताओं को सबसे सुरक्षित और सबसे अच्छा वैल्यू फॉर मनी दिलाएंगे. और हम लोग ऑलवेज उन्हीं को सपोर्ट करेंगे जो कंज्यूमर प्रोटेक्शन को बढ़ावा देगा, इर्रेस्पेक्टिव ऑफ कौन सा पॉलिटिकल पार्टी दें. जो भी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी देगा हम लोग उनके साथ ऑलवेज रहेंगे. हम लोग नॉन पॉलिटिकल लोग हैं, हम लोग ऑलवेज ये कोशिश करेंगे कि लोगों में जागरूकता आए. विदाउट वेस्टिंग एनी मोर टाइम, आई हैड सीन द हैंड वाज रेज्ड बाय सुनील पंचाल. सुनील जी, प्लीज अनम्यूट एंड कम. सुनील जी.
Yes, hi. Thank you, Mishra sir. And once to start with, my sincere gratitude to the senior most and veterans into this consumer awareness forum and the initiative that you all have been working upon. Now, just a question to Dr. Kamath. There are already warranties and guarantees which are being issued by the...
Can you put on your camera? Can you put on your camera?
Unfortunately, sir, it's not working. I did try a couple of times, but it's not
normally
working.
You want to see the face of the person who is asking.
Maybe the next session I'll kind of try
no
and
problem,
repair my thing.
Go ahead.
Now, and one more thing, what Dr. Kamath said, and I wholeheartedly agree, and in fact, that is what I was supposed to be mentioning, that while we accept the fact that yes, to get an bill passed or to get an things into action through the law has been challenging. The only way I see is making the consumers more aware. All right. And Dr. Kamath did mention about iPhone. Now, my submission here is for iPhone, the only reason why they charge so much of money is only because they provide this comfort of exchange. I mean, they don't ask question and they just replace the phone, because they know that by doing this, they are, kind of buying the loyalty of a customer. And there are very few people whom I have come across who have bought an iPhone and then shifted to an Android phone, right? So it works both the ways, according to me. That if we end up buying a cheaper product or a lesser quality just to be cost conscious, obviously the manufacturer is going to be like, compromising onto the service delivery and everything. But apart from the, the consumer challenges, there are bills which are being passed, like ONDC, the Open Network for Digital.
Can you come to your question? You come to your question, Sunil ji.
No, I don't have any question, but my submission is: don't you feel that the collective consciousness of a consumer would help us in getting the bill passed, quickly, or at least have an application of this law to the corporates?
Thank you.
Because
Thank you,
otherwise,
Thank you very much, Dr. Kamath.
Sunil ji, there are two things. One thing is, वो हिंदुस्तान में सब लोग कुंडली में मानते हैं, तो वैसे इस बिल का भी एक कुंडली है, वो कुंडली के हिसाब से वो पास हो जाएगी. आपका और मेरा नसीब अगर अच्छा है तो 3 महीने में पास हो जाएगी. अगर उसकी कुंडली खराब है तो 15 साल के बाद मैं शायद नहीं रहूंगा. मैं अभी आई एम ऑलमोस्ट 70 now, 69. Some of our juniors will have to pursue it. That is one aspect. तो कुंडली उसकी क्या है, जरा आप हो सके तो निकालो. मैं कुंडली पे मानता नहीं. लेकिन दूसरी बात ये है कि what you are saying about iPhone that they replace etc. Please remember this very clearly. This iPhone system which they follow is in Europe and America. In India, if you have an iPhone which is out of order, do not expect them to treat you like a king. Please be very sure in your mind. We have not one. Our Consumer Guidance Society runs the Maharashtra Consumer Helpline, in which we get 25,000 complaints a year, which amounts to more than 2,000 complaints a month. And the iPhone complaints are attended. I do not deny that they are attended. But बहुत तकलीफ देने के बाद वो जो वहां सर्विस होता है और यहाँ सर्विस होता है, उसमें रात दिन का फर्क है. Here they start with asking you, if you say that iPhone is not working, आपने उसको गिराया होगा क्या, आपने उसको पानी में डाला होगा. That means the moment you go there, instead of a complainant, you are an accused कि आपने क्या करके इसको बिगाड़ा. Which is a very sorry state of affairs. Yeah. To say that आपने क्या करके इसको बिगाड़ा, that means you are throwing aspersions on my character. But ये हिंदुस्तान में चलता है. और जैसे मैंने बोला, जब तक आप खरीदते हैं आप किंग है, उसके बाद आप भिखारी है. तो आप बोलते नहीं सर, मैं नहीं घुमाया सर, मैं नहीं गिराया सर. तो आप गिड़गिड़ा रहे हो उसके सामने, which is a very sorry state. But let's hope for the best and carry on our work.
Dr. Kamath, आपने हमको 1986 वापस ले गया जब आप कुंडली का नाम लिए, क्योंकि हमको अभी तक मालूम है, हम लोगों को वो अपॉर्चुनिटी मिला था कि then the Prime Minister, we were able to approach him and ask for the Consumer Protection Act which we wanted in the country, and he was so charmed by our expectation that in 6 months' time the Consumer Protection Act 1986 came into existence without any kind of a delay. And I still remember Mr. HKL Bharat was the minister, and the Prime Minister directed him that हमको 6 महीने के अंदर ये bill चाहिए, and in the winter session of 1986 it got legislated. So I believe 100% with what you carry yourself with in terms of Janam Kundli, and I believe that there is something called destiny. जब होने का है तब होगा जरूर. कोई ना कोई ऐसा व्यक्ति आ जाएगा हम लोग के सामने जो उस चीज को करके दिखा देगा जिसके लिए हम लोग अपेक्षा रख रहे हैं. तो हम लोग उम्मीद रखते हैं, because as Dr. Abdul Kalam always said that you have to have a dream, because if you don't have a dream, how can your dream get accomplished? And that is what Dr. Kalam always promoted, that you should have a dream And till you don't have a dream, you cannot accomplish it. So we all have a dream as a citizen to build India, to take it to that Amrit Kal, which RJS Parivar is trying to do along with several people. So we have created a dream that Amrit Kal hoga हमारे देश में. हम लोग का 5 ट्रिलियन इकोनॉमी बनेगा. बट जब बनेगा तो वो कंज्यूमर भी किंग बनेगा. और वो ड्रीम लेकर हम लोग काम कर रहे हैं. और हम लोग accomplish जरूर करेंगे. With that, I would like to now hand over the mic back to our convener, Mr. Uday Manna ji. Unless some persons who are participating in this conversation has a question to ask and has not been able to ask, because I think I have completed the hands raised by the participants. But if still somebody has got something to ask, please feel free to come. And I can see there is a movement from our very patron person called Sudeep Sahu ji. Sudeep Sahu ji हाथ हिला रहे हैं, बहुत इच्छुक हैं. सुदीप साहू जी, आप अनम्यूट करके प्लीज आइए. हम लोग आपका प्रश्न के लिए बहुत इंतजार कर रहे हैं. आइए प्लीज.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. इतना सुंदर आज जो चर्चा हुई है, राइट टू रिपेयर, जिसकी मुझे लग रहा है कि हर व्यक्ति चाहता है ये होना ही चाहिए. और कामत साहब का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद जो उन्होंने इस बिल को ड्राफ्ट किया और गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया को भेजा है. पहली बात तो ये है कि हम भारतीय शुरू से ही पुरानी चीजों को कलेक्ट करने में होशियार रहे हैं और हम चाहते हैं कि उसका हमें मूल्य मिले. अभी आजकल क्या हो रहा है कि जो चिप्स के पैकेट होते हैं, आटे के पैकेट होते हैं, वो सारे के सारे सड़कों पे घूमते नजर आते हैं, जबकि ये कंपनी की जिम्मेदारी होनी ही चाहिए कि इसको वापस ले और उसमें पैसे भी हमको वापस करे कि भाई ये पैकेट आपने वापस किया तो हमें पैसे वापस दीजिए. दूसरी चीज, उदाहरण ये देखिए कि हमारे यहाँ मोहल्ले में 2 रुपए किलो पुराने कपड़े खरीदने वाला आता है. बाल कहते हैं, बाल बेच के जीरा खरीद लीजिए. तो ये तक तो हमारे यहाँ हो सकता है. तो ये क्यों नहीं हो सकता कि कंपनियां जो हैं वापस चीजों को लें, उसको रिपेयर करें और सम्मान पूर्वक ग्राहकों का समस्या का समाधान करें. अभी क्या हो रहा है, किंग जो है केवल कहने के लिए बचे हुए हैं. हम वाकई में क्या कहते हैं, गिड़गिड़ाते हुए जाते हैं, परेशान होते हैं. जब वो बेचना होता है तो बेचने के लिए बहुत लल्लो चप्पो करेगा, लेकिन जब बेच गया सामान, दुकान के बाहर आ गए, पूछता ही नहीं, वो चाहे खड़े रहो वहां, कुछ भी करते रहो. तो ये बहुत ही बेहतरीन लेजिस्लेशन आएगा और मैं चाहता हूं कि ये प्रेजेंट टाइम में ही पास हो जाए. तो मुझे लग रहा है कि बहुत ही खूबसूरत बात होगी और मैं इसी के साथ धन्यवाद देता हूँ. अच्छा, एक बात और मैं कह रहा हूँ, जो बैंकों के एटीएम होते हैं और पासबुक प्रिंटिंग मशीनें होती है, लगी होती हैं, उनमें यूनिफॉर्मिटी होनी चाहिए कि बहुत सी मशीनों में कह रहे हैं कि पन्ना खोल के डालिए, बहुत सी मशीनें कहती हैं पासबुक सीधे ही डाल दीजिए. मशीन अपने आप खोल के और पर्टिकुलर पेज पे जाकर के उसको प्रिंट करती है. तो इस विषय पे भी ध्यान दिया जाए कि मशीनें इस तरीके की बनाई जाएं कि उसमें यूनिफॉर्मिटी हो. हर आदमी अपना अपना दिमाग उसमें ना लगाए, यूनिफॉर्म चीजें होनी चाहिए जो उससे आसानी रहेगी कंज्यूमर को. शुक्रिया, धन्यवाद.
थैंक यू वेरी मच. हमने एक और हाथ देखा एंड आई रिकॉग्नाइज्ड हिम. भले वो देर से आए हैं. त्रिपाठी जी, आप हम लोग के बीच में हैं जी. आशीष त्रिपाठी जी हैं, आनंद त्रिपाठी जी, जो हु इज स्कॉलर इन यूनिवर्सिटी, बनारस हिंदू यूनिवर्सिटी. उसने कुछ पेपर भी पब्लिश किया है जो उन्होंने हमको बताया. आपका प्रश्न प्लीज पूछिए टू डॉक्टर कामत. आशीष जी.
Thank you, sir. A very good morning to all of you. I hope I am audible there.
वीडियो आपकी वीडियो नहीं दिख रही.
Video. Okay, sir. I think it's visible. Yeah.
Go ahead.
If when we study consumer rights, procedures, and the legislation, normally we define or segregate legislation in 2 or 3 categories. That is called civil, criminal, and in our case, that is consumer. So my question is to the people who are designing, defining or thinking for legislations, why there is not provision created for death sentences in cases of the CPA, Consumer Protection Act 1986 till date. Though we know very well that we have huge amount of death losses caused by the product and services which is being served in market, Indian market, but till now, this is 2023, the act was passed in 1986. क्यों नहीं है अभी तक? ऐसा कभी कुछ हुआ ही नहीं है. हम जो उत्पाद और सेवाएं प्रयोग करते हैं उनके कारण मृत्यु तो हुई है लोगों के बीच में, लेकिन अभी तक किसी ना कंपनी को, ना किसी प्रोडक्ट को, ना ही किसी व्यक्ति विशेष को आज तक कंज्यूमर केसेस में मृत्यु दंड दिया गया. Thank you, sir. I think my question is clear. And why the people are...
नहीं सर, आप मुझे बहुत डराना नहीं, मैं जल्दी डर जाता हूँ. मुझे डराना इसलिए नहीं क्योंकि डॉक्टर हूँ, और डॉक्टर को नेग्लिजेंस केस में मृत्यु दंड वगैरह देने लगे तो बहुत परेशानी हो जाएगी. देखिए, डिफरेंस बिटवीन सिविल लॉ एंड क्रिमिनल लॉ. इन सिविल लॉ यू डू नॉट penalize people. In civil law, rarely you will find somebody has to go to a court or to go to jail unless you do what is called contempt of court. That means, if the, for example, Consumer Protection Act में है कि अगर आप payment नहीं करते हो despite order, then the consumer court can send you to jail for a period of 1 month to 2 years. Old section 26 and if I'm not mistaken, new section 79. So please remember कि एक ऐसा होता है ना कि एक ब्रेड चोरी करने के लिए किसी को मृत्यु दंड दी नहीं जाती है. Only for heinous crimes people are given mrityu dand. So if you say, for example, prove that certain product has caused death to people or large number of people have got paralyzed or something like that, then you can do something like this. लेकिन consumer में ये ऐसा normally होता नहीं है. और because I teach law, I'm telling you, there is a very strong statement in law that the sentence must be in proportion to the crime. Now, consumer problems are not crimes. And more importantly, consumer are such that cause normally economic loss. So courts and law system is very chary of giving death sentence for such people. I appreciate your sentiments, but I also hope that it doesn't become a practice to give death sentence for things like that, because then all of us are at very big, you can say, risk that आज नहीं तो कल एक छोटे से चीज के लिए, मान लीजिए आप स्टेयरकेस से ऊपर नीचे चढ़ रहे हैं और कोई बुजुर्ग आदमी को आपका धक्का लग गया और वो गिर के उसकी हड्डी टूट गई और आपको डेथ सेंटेंस मिल गया, तो क्या होगा भैया? तो सोच समझकर हम लोग काम करेंगे. We are living in a democratic country with certain basic human rights. So let's not go beyond that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kamath, for your very useful input. Before I hand over the mic to Uday Manna ji to close the session, because we are run out of time, it is already 12:30. What I want to conclude by saying is that ये discussion बहुत ही अहम discussion रहा, because it has given a new dimension in terms of deficiency, in terms of substandard products, how to define, in what manner to go ahead to do it. There is an initiative of bringing in a new law by the Consumer Guidance Society of India on the issue of right to repair. Then there has been suggestions that in parallel we move towards amending the existing Consumer Protection Act to bring in these kind of dimensions into the Act, because the whole premise of the Consumer Protection Act is the right for compensation towards the damage caused to the consumer due to unfair trade practice, deliberate act of negligence, or pushing substandard products, or misleading, or any kind of a practice which is unethical and violates the 6 rights of the consumer in our country. So having said that, the new Consumer Protection Act 2019 elaborates a full chapter on the product liability. And when we are looking at the product liability, how we can bring in these dimensions are today in front of us out of this discussion. And I would like to conclude by saying our sole motive is consumer awareness. All what we are doing from morning till evening, for the last 40 years is to build this consumer awareness, क्योंकि हम लोग always believe करते हैं कि एक जागरूक उपभोक्ता always एक सुरक्षित उपभोक्ता होते हैं, और जितने लोग सुरक्षित महसूस करेंगे उतने हम सोचते हैं वो जागरूक केवल नहीं, वो दूसरों को भी जागरूक करेंगे। तो उसी शब्दों के साथ हम अपने जो अभियान है जागरूक उपभोक्ता क्रिएट करना कंट्री में, उसको जारी रखेंगे। और आरजेएस परिवार से हम बहुत आभारी हैं कि उस मुहिम को लेकर एवरी संडे 11 o'clock, आप भूलिएगा मत, every Sunday at 11 o'clock we come out with to discuss on some important subject or the other, like the Aware Consumer does every month on the 1st, on some critical issue of the consumer to be covered in an exhaustive manner out of our publication, the Aware Consumer, which is being published every month by us, and I being the editor, I am honored to take that publication forward. Thank you very much. Once again, सबको हार्दिक हम शुभकामनाएं। आज अष्टमी के पूजा है, हम सबको धन्यवाद देना चाहते हैं कि आप समय निकालकर इस चर्चा में आए हैं, and I am very, very grateful to RJS परिवार for giving me this opportunity to moderate this conversation. I pass the mic to Mr. Uday Manna to proceed with the rest of the matters. Uday Manna ji.
जय हिंद। द अवेयर कंज्यूमर का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कि इस तरह से जो ये राइट टू रिपेयर पे आपने एक विशेषांक निकाला है, और उसी पर आरजेएस पीबीएच का जो ये वेबिनार हुआ, और उसके लिए तो बहुत ही हम भी आभारी हैं कि ऐसी चीजों से सरकार तक आवाज पहुंचाने का एक माध्यम बनता है, और निश्चित रूप से न्यूज़पेपर्स के माध्यम से, पॉडकास्ट के माध्यम से, और हम लोगों के जितने भी 25 राज्यों के लोग जुड़े हैं वहां अवेयरनेस फैलाने के माध्यम से, और प्रतिभागियों के जितने सवाल थे वो देश के सवाल थे, और उस देश के सवाल को आप लोगों ने डॉक्टर एमएस कामत जी जो इतने अनुभवी हैं, और प्रोफेसर बिजन कुमार मिश्रा जी ने एक रास्ता दिया है। मैं आरजेएस ऑब्जर्वर और एमसीडी के पूर्व निदेशक को बुलाने के लिए मैं आज कंज्यूमर ऑनलाइन फाउंडेशन के चेयरमैन प्रफुल्ल भाई सेठ को आमंत्रित करूंगा, सादर आमंत्रित करने के लिए, और उसके बाद हम लोग अगले कार्यक्रम की घोषणा भी करेंगे। जी प्रफुल्ल भाई।
दीपचंद माथुर जी साहब है, मैंने देखे हैं उनको यहाँ पे।
जी 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 जी
करूंगा कि दीपचंद माथुर साहब, फॉर्मर डायरेक्टर ऑफ एमसीडी, may propose a vote of thanks. Thank you. Mathur ji? He has come.
या उन्होंने बाहर चले गए थे, वापस आ गए।
जी हाँ।
दीपचंद माथुर जी।
हेलो हेलो
हेलो हेलो दीपचंद माथुर जी।
जी जी जी।
Thank you so much. I'm sorry there was some disturbance. First of all, I would like to wholeheartedly thank you, all the participants and those who have contributed to this very valuable discussion. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. M.S. Kamath, the Honorary Secretary of Consumer Guidance Society of India. He has spoken very well, and he has given a very, very good keynote address, which set the tone for the entire discussion. And he very rightly pointed out, if the repair sector is strengthened, there will be millions of jobs created. It is in our own interest, the country's interest, that this kind of consumer awareness leads to creation of more and more setup of repair centers. I mean, it will help the consumers as well as our young people. Then he talked about, because he said, Indians are very good in jugaad technology, that is very true also. I mean, we have the brains and the motivation. What we need is only a proper act to support it, and proper environment and proper organizational goodwill. So we can definitely do very well in the field of repair also. I mean, there's a lot of scope, you know. It will lead to both betterment for both consumers as well as nation, as well as service providers, you know. I mean, he has raised a very good point, and he has very maturely and moderately, I mean, moderated the entire thing in the discussions, you know. And he has spoken about so many things. I mean, what he has spoken about USA is very inspiring for Indian setup, you know. We can only, at present, we can only dream of what kind of service to repair is being offered in USA. I hope that with the consumer awareness, as Professor Mishra had emphasized, we will reach that stage sooner or later. Right now, there is a lot of distance between the purchase, service, and repair. That has to be the gap has to be filled up, you know. And we are very grateful to Professor, the Praful D. Shethji, who is the chairman of Consumer Online Foundation, for his very valuable inputs, you know. I mean, he has been a wonderful supporter of RJS movement, and we are very grateful for his very, very valuable inputs, you know. And Professor Bijon Mishra को तो क्या कहा जाए, उनको कुछ भी कहना, सूरज को दीपक दिखाना होगा. वो हमारे कंज्यूमर अवेयरनेस के किंग हैं. मतलब what should I say, that he has generated the whole movement in such a fine way that now it has become a full-fledged, very, 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 very strong movement, you know. The credit goes to Professor Mishra, and then we are also very grateful. RJS is very grateful to the participants also, who raise very, very good questions, and I think they themselves are very good in the field, you know. I mean, Mr. Raji Nath, Mr. Hari Ram, Mr. Matthew, Mr. Sunil Panchal, and others. They enriched the webinar with their very, very useful contributions. They raised very valid points. We are very grateful to them. So now, since we are drawing to a closer, I would like to sum up by thanking Dr. Professor Bijon Kumar Mishra ji, Mr. Praful D. Shethji, and Dr. Kamath, and all the participants who raised valuable questions and made very good insights. They made the whole discussion very useful, and we hope that with such a aware consumer movement, we all Indians shall be able to reach the goal of a very fair, not only right to service, but right to repair also. And we are on the right track, and we shall reach. हम एक दिन जरूर कामयाब होंगे, और हमारे यहाँ भी एक ऐसा ही कंज्यूमर अवेयरनेस होगी, और ऑलरेडी हो रही है. वी आर ऑन द राइट पाथ, कि जो हमारे यूएसए और जूकर बड़ी बड़ी जो वेस्टर्न कंज्यूमर कंट्रीज है, वहां के बराबर हमारा वो होगा. आई थिंक दैट वी आर गाइडेड बाय वेरी एबल पर्सन्स, and we are always very grateful to Professor Bijon Mishra for what he has done for the consumer movement and what he has done for RJS also. Once again, on behalf of RJS, JANAKI SANSTHAN, I once again thank you, Dr. M.S. Kamath, Professor Bijon Mishra, Praful Sheth, and all the speakers and the participants for sparing their very valuable time on the this Ashtami Day. And thank you very much for sparing your time on this auspicious occasion and a very great festival. Thank you very much on behalf of RJS Parivar. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, RJS Observer और MCD के फॉर्मर डायरेक्टर दीप चंद माथुर जी. और ये हम लोगों का हर वेबिनार जो है वो एक नया प्रकाश देता है, नया सूर्योदय देता है, नया आशा आभा आलोकित करता है, और हम लोग नए मुकाम की तरफ फिर बढ़ते जा रहे हैं. और पॉजिटिव मीडिया डायलॉग जो है वो अपने आप में एक नया मुकाम हासिल होगा, और यही कंज्यूमर्स मूवमेंट जो है वो हम लोगों को एक दिशा दे रहा है. और अगले कार्यक्रम की भी घोषणा हो रही है कि यहाँ पर हम लोग विजय गाथा ऑफ पॉजिटिविटी ओवर नेगेटिविटी, ये नेगेटिविटी के चलते जो कंज्यूमर परेशान हो रहे हैं, तो ये विजय गाथा जो है वो हम लोग लिखने जा रहे हैं, नकारात्मकता पर सकारात्मकता की विजय गाथा। ये हर साल करते हैं और विजयादशमी के दिन सुबह 11 बजे से 12:30 बजे आप मिलेंगे। हमारे कई जो गणमान्य अतिथि हैं और को ऑर्गेनाइजर हैं हम लोगों के लाफ्टर पॉजिटिविटी एम्बेसडर सत्येंद्र जी और सुमन त्यागी जी, सत्येंद्र त्यागी जी, सुमन त्यागी जी, और इसमें नीलम वढेरा जी के साथ साथ हम लोगों के कालका मंदिर के जो महंत हैं वो आएंगे, पीठाधीश्वर सुरेंद्रनाथ अवधूत जी और राजेश गहलोत जी, जो द्वारका श्री रामलीला कमेटी के पैट्रन हैं, और डॉक्टर वेद प्रकाश टंडन जी, ये दूसरी बार आएंगे। नवरात्र के दिन इन्होंने रामलीला की शुरुआत हम लोगों ने की थी, तो उसमें उस वेबिनार में आए थे डॉक्टर वेद प्रकाश टंडन जी। तो ये है 24 मंगलवार को, 24 अक्टूबर। इसके बाद हम लोग प्रफुल्ल भाई कार्यक्रम करा रहे हैं, कंज्यूमर ऑनलाइन के चेयरमैन, राष्ट्र प्रथम भारत एक परिवार, जिसके कि दीपचंद माथुर जी ने ये लोगो दिया था, राष्ट्र प्रथम भारत एक परिवार विश्व एक घर। तो कंज्यूमर ऑनलाइन फाउंडेशन के सहयोग से आरजेएस पीबीएच का ये वेबिनार बहुत ही खास होने जा रहा है, नेशनल यूनिटी डे, यानी कि जो आरजेएस पीबीएच की आत्मा है कि पूरे देश को एक सूत्र में जोड़कर जहां सकारात्मक कार्य हो रहे हैं, सकारात्मक प्रयास हो रहे हैं, उसको हम लोग इसमें कीनोट एड्रेस प्रस्तुत करेंगे टेम्पल ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग फाउंडेशन ऑफ इंडिया के सेक्रेटरी जनरल, और रजनीश जो जोएस जी हैं, वो सुब्बाराव जी की जो संस्था है नेशनल यूथ प्रोजेक्ट, स्वर्गीय सुब्बाराव जी की, तो उसके ये नेशनल ट्रस्टी हैं और साइकोलॉजिस्ट हैं, और प्रोफेसर विजन कुमार मिश्रा जी से फिर रूबरू होने का मौका मिलेगा, चेयर करेंगे इस सेशन को, और प्रफुल्ल डी सेठ रहेंगे वेलकम और वोट ऑफ थैंक्स के लिए। तो एक आरजेएस परिवार के लिए जो है राष्ट्र प्रथम भारत एक परिवार का ये मंच बनेगा। आपको 29 अक्टूबर को और 31 अक्टूबर को हम श्रद्धांजलि देंगे सरदार पटेल जी, भारत रत्न सरदार पटेल जी को श्रद्धांजलि देकर, और हम लोग याद करेंगे उनको कि भारत का एकीकरण का मंत्र किस तरह से दिया उन्होंने, और यही सकारात्मक भारत उदय आंदोलन का उद्देश्य है, अपने स्वतंत्रता सेनानियों को याद करना। तो इसी के साथ आरजेएस पीबीएच के संस्थापक और राष्ट्रीय संयोजक उदय कुमार मन्ना, आप सभी लोगों का, डॉक्टर कामत जी का, प्रोफेसर विजन कुमार मिश्रा जी का, और प्रफुल्ल डी सेठ जी का, दीपचंद माथुर जी का, और जितने भी पार्टिसिपेंट्स हैं उन सब का, और द अवेयर कंज्यूमर मैगजीन जो राइट टू रिपेयर है, उनका धन्यवाद कि इस तरह से हम लोगों को जो सहयोग मिल रहा है वो देश के काम आ रहा है। राष्ट्र प्रथम भारत एक परिवार विश्व एक घर। तो अब इस कार्यक्रम को टेक्निकल टीम का भी आभार कि बहुत अच्छे से डॉक्टर कामत जी का पीपीटी प्रेजेंटेशन बहुत ही सही तरीके से दिखाया, जिससे कि वो जानकारी हम लोगों तक पहुंची। तो आरजेएस पीबीएच के टेक्निकल टीम का भी आभार और सभी लोगों का धन्यवाद। जय हिंद, जय भारत। सकारात्मक
सकारात्मक सोच को आओ सारे भारत में फैलाए, सकारात्मक ऊर्जा का आओ सब में संचार कराए। ऐसा ना हो कि हम अपनी जिम्मेदारी भूल न जाए, क्यों इंतजार करें हम किसी का, आओ एक मशाल जलाए। सकारात्मकता के उदय का चलिए हम उद्घोष कराए। आरजेएस जय हिंद के नारों से अपना देश जगाए, आरजेएस वंदे मातरम से सारी सरकार जगाए।